Yesterday, we didn't really give a name to what we were studying. We just were talking conceptually about how you make electricity in an electromagnet or in a generator. So we're giving it a name. It's called Faraday's Law. Okay. And Faraday's Law is the, quantifying all this change in flux, creating the electro universe, hates change, bad, blah, 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 all that. So first, let's define flux. That symbol, phi, is the symbol for flux. I know it does. I actually wrote it in green last hour, and that's what the kids said. So there are two factors that encompass, or that basically define what flux is. Area, which is, that's the capture area of the loops, and it's usually more than one loop, so of the loops that we're using in our generator or solenoid. Okay?
So like this one would be this space?
Yep, pi r squared of that space. That's exactly right. And you notice there's lots of loops on your desk, and I don't know why, but every year when kids find the metal ones, they think, oh, let's spin these and drive Miss Nick crazy, make her head explode with the sound. So, yes, thank you, Sarah, so much. It doesn't matter every time I bring up those kids. Look, they spit! Stop it! All right. Capture area of the loops, and oh my gosh! Yep, times the strength of the magnetic field. That's correct. Okay. So that's just the definition of flux. But you can't make electricity, you can't create current in a wire just by having flux. So I could stick a magnet in that big coil, right? And if it just sits there, nothing happens. So in order to create electricity, what do you have to do with the flux? Change it, correct. So change in flux is equal to the change in either the area or the magnetic field, but usually not both. Now, technically, you could change both the area and the magnetic field, but we'll never do that in the real world. Thank you. So supportive, Peter. So nice. I know. What's wrong with you? The reason that you would never want to change both is changing the area of capture is usually done by rotating loops. Okay, and I'll show you why that changes the area of capture. Changing the magnetic field strength is usually done by moving the magnet around. And unless you can perfectly coordinate those changes simultaneously, you could have, at some point, this. And why would that be bad? Right. In other words, these changes could negate each other, right? So if you had an increase in area of capture but a decrease in the strength of the magnetic field, you might have no change at all. Okay? So this is usually done by changing only one of those variables. Area of capture. Yes, and the way generators do that is not by actually changing like the size of the loops, but by changing the orientation. And I'll show you that a little bit later. Okay. So what can we do to create voltage? Or electricity, but we're going to call it voltage. So to create voltage, there's four things that you can do. Change the area of capture. This is the most common way that we do this. That's nice little rhythm there, little background rhythm for the lecture today. Who thinks that they can figure out where the sound is coming from? Is it like, no, I know it's coming from the vent. Thank you so much, Peter. So helpful. Like, in other words, is there something just stuck in there that's flapping around, or is it like the actual motor that's vibrating? Just kick it. Yeah, be like the Fonz. You guys don't know what that is. So. Okay. So the most common way to create voltage is to change the area of capture by rotating the loops. Another way that you could create voltage is to change the magnetic field strength. And you would do that by moving the magnet. So move the magnet closer or farther from the loop. The third thing that you could do to create voltage, and I demonstrated this, is to do number 1 or number 2 from above faster. So it's not just about changing these, but it's also about the rate of change. So the faster I spin the loops or move the magnet, the what the voltage? Greater, yes. So those are directly related. Faster you do it. Rate of change. And then the fourth and a really easy thing you can do is use more loops. So the example of the solenoid sitting on our desk up here is lots and lots of loops. And it just basically gives you more current to concentrate in a small area. Okay? So since these are increases or decreases, we can represent them with numbers, and that means that there must be a formula. Melissa, this is you, but it's not till 10. So. Okay? So here's the formula that takes all of this into account. Fancy cursive E, kind of looks like the sum symbol, is a symbol that stands for electromotive force. Electromotive force. So force that moves electrons. And this is what's really happening at the molecular level. So we're doing all this stuff, we're spinning loops, and we're moving magnets, and we're adding loops. The reason that this is an electromotive force, it's all about the universe trying to keep everything at ground state level. Are you a usual multiple sneezer? Double sneezers, raise your hand. Double sneeze? I'm usually a double sneezer. 3? How many of you are 3 triple sneezers? Isn't that the weirdest thing?
Sometimes when you're driving, it's so scary.
Yeah.
Like sneeze like 4 times in a row. You're like, is it gonna stop?
Yeah, because you have to close your eyes.
I know, I'm so scared to sneeze when I'm driving. I'm like, no.
All right. Electromotive force is also called EMF. Okay? And it's voltage. It's the same thing as voltage, but the reason I didn't call it voltage in the last unit was because it's really talking about creating current and voltage through this process. Okay, so that's why I don't introduce EMF. Now, you guys will have to explain this because I had an interesting phenomenon. There was a student, a very, very bright student, who used this symbol on the last test. And I'm like, oh, dude. And I wrote on his test, I caught you. You studied, because I hadn't introduced this yet. So here's my question. And, of course, he denies studying. No, I was just talking to some AP students, and we were just working this out on a napkin. I don't care, that counts as studying. But here's my question. Why is studying bad?
Because that means that you're trying, and if you're trying, then you're a
Then you're a
nerd.
loser.
But,
Studying is not that, but when you give off the image that you're not studying.
right, but why is that cool, to give off the image that you're...
Because if you don't have to study and you're that smart, then it's like, wow, he must be really smart.
Yeah, there's this stigma between hard work and you're like a try-hard or like the winners or whatever, and then there's this like natural talent where it's like, I can get an A, I don't have to.
It's not
If
based
you
on
have like
study,
natural
study,
talent,
study,
you don't have to
study.
study, then you're one step ahead of the game of all those chumps back there who have to study.
But see, I want to know when did it become like a chump to actually work? How is that a bad thing?
Because having to work.
What do you think your employer is going to want? The kid who did that thing, like laying back? I'm just naturally brilliant. Your boss isn't going to care about that, right? Smart. I don't care if you're smart. Work hard.
It's like the difference between, it's like Greg and Travis, and then somebody like Gina or somebody else that studies a lot. Like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm thinking Gina's going to be their boss.
No,
See what I mean?
Just gonna get locked into a basement and be forced to solve any problem and never talk to them. If he does, he'll get fired.
Okay, here's my question. Why do you have to justify that?